Steven to Steven.
Yeah, welcome to Steven with your host, Steven.
And Steven.
Uh-huh.
And we're not sponsored by Kellogg's. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Kellogg's, hit us up.
Please do. I don't have any money.
I really like cereal.
I mean, I'm also impartial to cereal, but...
I mean, cereal's pretty good.
It is good. I'll give you that, but you know what's better than cereal? Cereal.
True. Cereal is better, way better than cereal.
Okay, speaking of cereal, do you like your cereal soggy or no?
No, not soggy.
Okay, good.
Other question. Milk first or milk last?
Milk always goes last.
Thank you!
Unless you're on your second bowl.
Yes. If you're on your second bowl, then the milk is already in there, then you like... But people who are like, I put the milk in first. No. You put the cereal so you can get the perfect amount of cereal, and then the perfect amount of milk for the cereal.
See, because you can't possibly know how much milk you want until you have the right amount of cereal.
And then it's just a waste of milk.
Correct. Isn't that right, squeaky ball dog?
Sharp Steven's dogs likes their lamb.
Yeah.
Okay, another thing. So I have this,
okay.
and I had to get directions to your house. Every 5 minutes, you just go like this. It'd go like... It's like... I get it. I can read. I don't need the tapping.
It taps you?
So it has like this little pad thing here.
Mm-hmm.
And that like sends like... It's like this. It's like... And it's like...
To remind you to go in a direction?
Yeah, to like make me look at it. It's like, I'm tapping, look at me. So then you look at it. And it's like, now you look at me. Now I stop tapping.
Very
like,
cool.
Okay. We're both in high school.
Yes.
You're in 12th grade.
Yes.
I'm in 10th grade.
Correct.
High school sucks.
Undoubtedly so.
Yes. And people who don't understand how much high school sucks, get out. If you have fun at high school, you need to leave. I'm looking directly into the lens right now. You need to get out.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that sentiment, Steven. To be fair, through my 4 years of high school now, of course, as I'm trying to go to college, writing those college apps.
Yes.
I can't wait to get the fuck out of this place.
Yes.
Don't know about you.
I'm ready, and I'm only in 10th grade.
It's true. I mean, I was done with high school in 8th grade.
Yes.
Didn't even want to go.
Yeah, we were, yeah.
Honest, once again, since this whole thing is just a pile...
It's a pile of shit.
There's just no point in trying, Buck, and so you just... I mean, there's not even really a point in complaining. You just realize that it's not meaningful.
Yeah, but I like complaining. It's
That's
one of my
true.
favorite things to do.
I would agree you do like to do that quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm really good at it. I'm also good at lying, which is not something I'm proud about, but I am.
Very good.
It's not something I'm proud about.
Alright, well, why don't we take a Steven to Steven sidetrack here, move past all this school garbage, because
garbage.
Well, because it could potentially get us in trouble for even saying it, so we're probably going to cut all of that out. And let's move on to some other interesting topics. Let's talk about existence.
Oh!
Steven, what are your thoughts on existing?
Well, thoughts don't exist unless so technically nothing.
Well, you think, therefore you are.
Ooh, true. But I don't think, so therefore I'm nothing.
That's true, but I think, so therefore I am, but I don't know if you are.
What I think is that existence is meaningless.
Well, I mean, it is.
Because but when you die, your brain stops, and you start decaying, like, instantaneously.
Yes.
Your body breaks down, your fats and stuff become nothing.
Yeah.
You get put in the ground, technically turned into fertilizer, in a wood box.
To some extent, yeah. Though...
The wood box fucks everything over, so technically stuff can happen, but, like, whatever. You know what I mean? But, like, if you're alive right now, and the people that are, like, unhappy in their lives, they, like, work at a cubicle, and they're like, hey, boss, you want me to do that paper on the law thing? Yeah, okay, I'll type that up for you. Let me just, finish that up right here. Here you go, boss. The people that do that and are unhappy with their lives, I don't get it. Because we only live for maybe average human who doesn't exercise that much or doesn't eat properly. Maybe 60, 70, 80 years old, roughly.
Yeah, around that, I would say.
And if they so they probably get the job when they're right after college, so maybe 24, 25 something, 23.
Yeah.
And they're in that job for 40, 50 years maybe. Mm-hmm. And they're unhappy, what's the point?
Well, what do you mean by that?
Like,
do you mean that they should be happy in that scenario?
They should do something they're happy with.
But some people don't get a choice to be happy, Buck. That's why existence is meaningless. True. Sometimes we like to think that happiness is guaranteed to some extent, but it's not.
It's definitely not.
It's not guaranteed, and that's really something that's ingrained in us as a child, that many of us will grow up to be happy
and also
or will find happiness, but not everyone finds happiness.
Not every man is created equal. That bullshit is dumb.
Well, everyone knows that to be
because,
fair.
Fun fact, I'm adopted. I was adopted at birth at the age 0. And so was my brother, but we're not biologically related. He was adopted 5 years before me. And we were adopted by a single gay parent. And there's this great story. My aunt is, like, really Christian, like, everything. She said this to my dad when he was adopting my brother. She said, "Who's gonna give a gay a baby?" And I thought to when I heard that story, I was like, the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you a human? And, like, when I was younger, I lived in North Carolina, so the South, where sweet tea and biscuits is a daily meal. Those things are delicious. I'm sorry to other Southerners. But I was made fun of so many times because my dad was gay, or that I was, like, raised by a gay guy. And so everyone assumed that I'd have to be gay. I'm not. I'm straight. Have a girlfriend. But, like, I was always put in the cube of that realm, and it just felt so demeaning, and I was just like, the fuck?
Yeah. Though I always do feel that with things like that, it is almost inherently a product of circumstance. For example, your aunt, the idea of, at least the homophobia, it all comes from somewhere. Yeah. It comes from either an upbringing in which that wasn't supported, or to some extent, you could even say just the fact that there's not a proper exposure to that, and so it's filled with circumstance. I mean, especially in a place like North Carolina, where I feel that, for some extent, that, you know, homophobia could be a problem, because even if, say, you are gay, you keep it under wraps simply because of the inherently
the
Southern
problems
Christian
that may happen, the ridicule, the stuff that may happen. Like, yeah. And, like, it's like, shit happens in the world. Like, I'm unhappy. Like, and there's no reason for it. I just feel empty.
Yeah, I mean,
and, like, my dad, I can't talk to my dad because he'll take it to this whole other extreme. And so I use comedy. Comedy's how I get through it.
Yeah, usually.
Exactly. And people sometimes find my comedy unfunny when I do, but that's their personal opinion. But when someone says, like, that's a shit joke, like, just using the extra word, like, you can say that's a bad joke and I don't care. Like, yeah, it probably was a bad joke. But if you're like, that's a terrible, awful shit joke, I just, like, it goes from, like, here to, like, here.
That's true. I often found, especially when I was younger and I was around your age, I found that when I used comedy to help deal with my problems, like my emptiness and my depression, getting myself called out for what I was doing as an attempt to make other people feel good. Like, I use my comedy to insult myself for the goals of other people feeling better, because I thought that if I could make others feel better, it would give me a purpose.
It would make you feel better.
Which it never really did. Never did. But the idea that I would put so much effort into trying to entertain others, and then someone say, I'm not being entertained by that, would hurt.
Just was like,
it really just, like, hurt me as a kid. And hurt me for a lot of my life, in fact.
So, when I was younger, my Uncle Buck, who I was named after, he taught me how to cook. Because my dad can't cook. He's not a good cook. So I always thought, and whenever I ate his food, I felt joy. So when I was younger, I wanted to be a chef. Because I thought making food and making people feel good with my food would bring me semblance of joy. And so I thought, well, the best thing that people are usually happy eating are sweets, like cupcakes, cakes, and stuff like that. So I got really into that, and your mom closed the door and your dog is whining.
Very cool.
So,
Pepper.
So, and then I started doing it a lot. And Sharp knows this, that when I was in the show, I baked a shit ton of cookies, right?
You did indeed.
I baked over 80-something cookies. I tripled the recipe at 12, but I miscalculated and stuff, so I made, like, double the amount of cookies, like... And, like, you're usually supposed to scoop it with an ice cream scoop and, like, plop it, but I rolled it into a log and cut it, so my cookies were different sizes and different, like, widths and stuff, and I cut it into, like, roughly inch pieces, so that makes more cookies than if you scooped it with, like, a round cookie thing about, like, this big. that's a different number. So I made, like, double what I wanted to.
Yes.
And it made people happy. He, like, was like, these are delicious. I'm gonna eat, like, 20. He ate so many fucking cookies. Mm-hmm. But even after that, he was still a turd.
I mean, some people are just turds, but it also, once again, is a product of their own circumstance. As someone who identifies as someone who tries to be moderate in almost everything socially, politically, or just in everyday life, I find that I can never blame anyone for their actions. And for some extent that I hope that comes on to me, because everything is a product of circumstance.
Yeah.
For example,
who we don't talk about.
I don't like to talk about.
No
bad time for me. It was really a product of circumstance, I felt, as to why deteriorated, and it's not necessarily their fault, nor is it my fault, nor is it really anyone's fault the way we act. However, some people may act terribly. It's also, once again, a product of circumstance to some extent. And so, once again, you can't control others. You can't control what others feel. You can't control how others act.
Yes.
And so it feels a little bit annoying. I understand it feels painful when someone is rude to you for no inherent reason, but some people just are that way for reasons you can't control.
Yeah.
They could have had a shitty day, totally unbeknownst to you, or they could have had triggers related to something that you did that maybe is not a problem with you, but maybe like someone else did that was a problem and leads to that similar response. It's all just a product of past experience, past trauma, all of that. The way we act is determined by the past. Or what's going on in our head. And often it could be controlled by something you said. Like, if you were a dick to someone, they'll probably be a dick to you.
Yeah.
Unless you're a sharp queener, and they'll just probably sit there and
then
be sad all the time.
You're a sharp queener, you know?
Yeah.
But, like, so, this was last year. This year, our friends. Maybe acquaintances. He tolerates me more. And, like, we have conversations sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand what's different. I haven't changed. I act the same way.
I mean, to some extent, you're older, and you are, to some extent, more mature. The whole idea, especially from older kids to younger kids, is they need to see that spark of maturity, that spark of understanding what is right to say and what is not right to say in order to have a proper conversation. And that's usually how I discern things as to whether or not I feel comfortable talking to someone, is if there's a lot of moments when they speak, like, I could feel myself mentally cringing over the idea that like that's
if someone says, like,
wrong.
lit in a sentence, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I mean, I have no problem with using slang. It's more so knowing social context or political context, or any sort of context, to know what is the right thing to say at any moment based on the consequences of where something is going, where you're going, and what you're saying.
Like, if you're talking about, like, I'm just gonna say, like, gay people, and you mention Trump, like, that's not, like, why would you do that? Like, the controversy between the two parties is, like, why would you say one thing when you're talking about this thing? It's like, you have to think about what you say first. The people that don't think and just say things, like, people, like, if you don't think about what the conversation is leading or what could happen, and you say something, like, offensive or something, and people are like, wow, you just don't think, or you're not mature enough to be in this conversation, that's the distance that usually attains to older and younger people.
Yeah. And I do understand that, of course, that isn't always relevant. Some people never really get that spark of understanding for their entire lives, or they lose it when they get older to some extent. However, I feel that there's just a lot of things that are really hard to talk about in the world today. You would agree.
Like, there's so many things that you can't bring up in a sentence without offending someone.
I mean, I wouldn't bring up it in that sense to the extent. Sure, we have the idea of a PC culture, but I don't find anything inherently negative with that to some extent. I have always been someone who tries to control what I want to say.
Yeah.
And I usually just try to steer away from anything that would cause controversy, even if I don't agree with the circumstances that force me to act. Like, let's say I don't agree with not saying a certain word or anything like that. Which is completely hypothetical. I will still follow along with it for the pure sake of not causing discourse, because I'm not looking. It's like there's the idea of disagreeing with something, and there's the idea of looking for trouble. which I feel is a thing where you disagree with something to a point in which you're actively seeking to cause discomfort by going against what they say. And while, I don't personally agree with a lot of things, I often go along just simply because I don't feel like it's worth it to try to ever, bring things up that I find uncomfortable. And while that may be seen as a negative, I also feel that it's sort of something I've learned, of course, from talking for a long time with a bunch of people of different opinions, different backgrounds, different ages.
Exactly.
Is that there's a problem today in the idea of how we treat people with differing views.
Yes.
In the sense that we're definitely divided in a, me versus them kind of idea, in which people who agree with you are on your side, while people who disagree with you are viewed as some sort of enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And to that extent, I just find a lot of pain almost in how we act like that, because it's we all could be friends with each other, we could all care for each other, we could all understand our differences, put them aside, and still work together as human beings. But we let those differences grow to some extent,
and then shit breaks down.
Shit breaks down, and then you get angry, and you get fights, and you get yelling matches. It's I go to school today, I go to my government class. Anything brings up current event-wise, and instead of having a proper discussion on things, as most people would be, it's just yelling. Yeah, it's just invective. It's just, you're wrong because I'm right. No, you're right. You're wrong because I'm right. Yes, you're a bad person for even thinking that. No, you're a bad person for thinking that. And then you just sort of sit there and you go, well, nothing gets done and nothing will ever get done.
Because the fight will just end. It won't, end in a proper way.
It won't end in a proper way. There'll be no sort of middle ground. There'll be no sort of agreement.
There'll be no, middle person.
Both sides think that they are on the right side. And regardless, they'll never change their mind. And that's why I have a problem with any sort of people who view that. Although, for example, some views may be inherently immoral. And I will agree that saying being homophobic is inherently immoral. Thinking that gay people are sinful is inherently immoral. You cannot directly go and tell someone who thinks that way you are an immoral person. Yes. Even though, to some extent, in your personal view, that is truth, you could never change their point of view by attacking from that point of view.
You can't, you can't be you're a sinner, you need God, to someone who's gay. It's I don't. Not in my mind. In my mind, I'm who I am. But in your mind, they need that. So there's the boundary of what each people thinks.
Yeah. And I think the problem comes, at least in the modern day and age, is when we let those boundaries seep out of our own heads into the way we act. For example, I have my own boundaries, my own political thoughts, my own personal opinions, but I don't try to let those seep out when I discuss with someone who disagrees with me. Because I see that there is something very important, not only from hearing someone who is different than you, but also understanding, once again, that nurture argument. Where does that come from? Yeah. Because if you just talk to them peacefully, you also get a really good background into the scenarios that cause them to adapt that view. Yeah. And also the reasoning behind it. And I find that the number one step to seeking sort of, not only friendship in people who you may have initially disagreed with, but also seeking commonality in what you once viewed as an opposing side comes from just listening. Yeah. And it seems that we have a problem also today with the idea of listening versus waiting for your turn.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to veer off subject because I have another topic that just popped in my brain. Technology. Phones, Apple Watches, computers, not including the one we're talking on right now. But I was eating dinner the other night, and this little kid, full volume, was watching this video. And I understand that, parents want to, distract their kids so they can have, a nice meal every once in a while and, chill out for a few minutes or something. But buy the kid fucking headphones. You're ruining other people's experiences by having that kid blast his thing on full volume.
Yeah. Once again, I am going to come in here and say, Steven, that once again, it is a product of circumstance. Yeah. And while it is inherently rude to do such a thing, rude. It's also if you were those parents, would you really act differently? Perhaps this is the first time they're able to go to eat in fucking months because this fucking kid has been keeping them up all night. Yeah. And they're so fucking sick of it. And they're so fucking sick of it, they're fine, watch your fucking
Watch your video.
Watch your Peppa Pig. Let me eat my fucking Thai food.
Oh, yeah. You know what's... They pulled up that Baby Shark song. And they were listening to it, and it was Baby Shark, do, baby. And it was they started playing it right as I was done with my food, and I was thank the gods. And And I was like, yes. Fuck you, Sharp. Fuck you, Steven. Why? Why'd you do this? We need another topic to talk about.
I suppose we do.
Or we could just cut to the next episode. Peace out, guys. Outro song.
That was Steven. Steven, thank you for listening.
I'm Steven.
And this is Steven.
And we'll see you next week.
Yes, we will.